I'm sorry, he's a RB QB1. He's a running back quarterback. And he's a good one. I'm not taking it away from him. And they're in a good system. They put it together and it worked. But he's better than Lamar Jackson, and he's the reason Eagles are winning Super Bowls? Come on, Brunson. Come on, Brunson. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's have some fun, ladies and gentlemen. It's Jimmy J's here from the Star We Are. How are we doing today? I'm glad to be with you. Happy Tuesday, 5/13/25. We're at it again. We've got a topic to talk about today. I had to do this. I had to make this video. Is he as good as they say? Who's they? We'll talk right about it. Without further ado, I'm going to get right into it today, ladies and gentlemen. Did you guys know that Jalen Hurts is better than Lamar Jackson? Did y'all know that? Did you guys know that Jalen Hurts is better than Lamar Jackson? I didn't. I wasn't aware. But our man, one of the most infamous bird boys out there, is no disrespect to any Eagles, no shots personally. That's what I call all Eagles fans. If they're you guys, they're bird boys. So one of the most infamous bird boys out there, Mr. Lord Brunson, said that Jalen Hurts is better than Lamar Jackson and had no shame. Didn't double down on it. Didn't backtrack. Bravery, blindness. I don't know what to call it, but we'll get right into it. And so we've got some comments here on this tweet. And you tell me which one is your favorite. We've got at what, and don't say winning. Okay, you got to be engagement farming at this point. Someone says no one in their right mind is taking Jackson, but enjoy the interactions, buddy. Somebody says we got one guy just says I can't agree with this one. Simply, no, he isn't. What makes Jalen good is his team. Oh, it's a team sport. Okay, put any quarterback with that current lineup on this team, and they're winning a Super Bowl. They say, okay, put Hurts on the Ravens, not getting past the playoffs. Okay, that's might be debatable, but I like the comment. And then here's my favorite, guys. Won a Super Bowl and still thinking about Lamar. That's funny because we know how these Eagles fans do. They've won 2 Super Bowls since our Cowboys have won one, and they do nothing but talk about Daddy Prescott, and these Dallas Cowboys because we own them when we know we do. But that's for another show. That's for another day. I could talk Eagles hate all day. But what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to preface a little bit what I'm going to break down today because I could easily pull up the Lamar Jackson versus Jalen Hurts stats, right? I could do that, but that's been done 1,000 times. So I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to break it down a different way. I'm going to redraft the Eagles, okay? And so what does that mean, Jimmy? Well, I'm going to take just the Eagles roster. I'm going to make my board based on college history, what I've seen in the NFL, all the tape that I have to break down, right? And if I just imagined all these guys were 23 years old with this info and this data and they're coming into the draft, I've got to make my board out of this roster. And so that's what I'm going to do. And so while Lord Brunson says Jalen Hurts is better than Lamar Jackson, let's go ahead and redraft the Eagles roster and see where we line up. So with my number 1 pick, I've got Lane Johnson. It's not even a question. It's not a question. First off, he was drafted way before Jalen Hurts. He was the 4th overall pick in his respective draft. And if we're talking about just that stat, there's 4 or 5 other players on the 2024 Eagles roster that were drafted in their draft above where Jalen was drafted in his, but that's not the point we're making here. So he's been with the Eagles since 2013, 2-time Super Bowl champ, All-Pro 2-time, 3rd team or 2nd team 3 times, 6-time Pro Bowler. So I don't have to tell you this man's career. If you're a first ballot Hall of Fame tackle, you're important, right? You're more important than the quarterback because the quarterback can't survive in this league without you. So, and I'll kind of tell you with each position how I grade the quarterback and why I grade the tackles above the quarterback because I just said it. Quarterbacks can't survive without tackle. If you can't show me on film that you're Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, then I can't put you above these guys that are going to save your life on this football field. Okay. So with my number 1 pick on the 2024 Eagles roster, it's Mr. Lane Johnson. With my 2nd overall pick, and I know Jimmy said in the past they're a dime a dozen, but it's going to be Mr. Saquon Barkley. Because just the way I ask you, if you can't show me on film that you're not Joe Montana or Drew Brees, then I can't put you that high. Well, this guy has shown me on all the film I've ever seen that he's the closest thing we've ever seen to Barry Sanders, right? You can shame me for it, whatever. That's my opinion. I believe it. So you get without a running game, again, is a quarterback's best friend, right? Which, again, is why I'm valuing the quarterback position just a little lower than some of these guys because it's a team sport. We see Josh Allen. We see Patrick Mahomes. They've had good and great teams. We see Patrick Mahomes, forgive me, with good and great teams, right? We see Josh Allen, who we know is a great quarterback, but maybe his team wasn't all there to get over the hump. Maybe the same thing with Lamar, right? So we know the 3-time MVP who's not as good as Jalen Hurts. that's why we're here. I digress. So we see all of Saquon's. I mean, I get down all the way down to the Paul Horning Award, and there's like 10 other college awards that I can't even, some I can't pronounce, but there's a slew of college awards past that. We didn't put them all on here. You know the numbers. Look at the NFL records. Receptions by a running back, NFL record, right? So he does more than just run the football. He's a multifaceted person, right? Scrimmage yards in a single season. He should have broke the NFL rushing record last year. He didn't play the 17th game, yada, yada. He should have been the actual true MVP last year, right? Saquon Barkley was arguably better than Lamar Jackson last year, if you want to talk about it, because he almost beat him in the MVP voting. And then rushing yards in a single and postseason combined, 2,504, astounding numbers. Like I said, this guy's all the great running backs combined. He is it. And when you're it, you get put that high on the board, because a quarterback needs a handful of guys that are it to win a chip. I'm going to tell you right now. So with the third overall pick, and this one was tough for me, right? Because like I said, you got to value these positions a certain way. But DBs in this league are irreplaceable. They're invaluable. When you've got an all-pro, when you've got a Pro Bowler, when you've got a lockdown number one who's going to do it for as long as this guy has done it, like I said, I have to look at the film. I have to take everything into consideration. When you've got a guy that can do this against the opposing number one, you make whose life a lot harder? The quarterbacks, right? So again, we're talking about where I value these positions. Why are they going ahead of the quarter? Because I understand I've got the only quarterbacks I have to choose from are on the Eagles roster. So obviously Jalen Hurts is going to be at the top of the quarterback list on this board, on this draft board. But these guys, what they do in the game and how they impact the game, for me, adds so much value that I need my quarterback to have this before I have my quarterback. And like I said, unless I know that my quarterback is freaking Tom Brady or Peyton Manning, or and that's hard to do. We've even Patrick Mahomes wasn't the first quarterback drafted in his own draft. He's the best quarterback in football, right? So there we go. I digress. And so Darius Slay, big play Slay. He makes big plays. He shuts down your number one. We've seen him give CD problems. We've seen him give wide receivers around the league problems. So I can't move him past number 3 on my overall big board. Now we'll get to number 4, and here's where you guys might start arguing with me. Here's where it can start to get debatable. Here's where it can start to get washed, and the GMs and coaches, it'll get opinionated position. There'll be battles over it. Obviously, these are probably the rounds and the picks in a real draft where they're really fighting. No, this guy. No, this guy. No, but this position is more valuable. For me, because of what he does, a quarterback's best friend is who? That wide receiver. And when you have a dog like this guy, when you have A.J. Brown, your quarterback's like, ask Dak Prescott, ask Jalen Hurts, go ask Josh Allen, a quarterback who hasn't had, outside of Stephon Diggs, a bunch of elite receivers over there. Go ask him how valuable it is, right? Go ask Lamar Jackson, who hasn't had a bunch of elite receivers over there. That's why he's won MVP, because he's doing what he's doing, not just rushing like Jalen, but he's throwing the ball around the yard, which is why we're arguing with this Jalen Hurts is better than Lamar Jackson point from Mr. Brunson. And so for me, it's got to be A.J. Brown here with the 4th overall pick on the Eagles draft. I believe he's the 4th best player on this team. He gives Saquon, he gives Saquon, Jalen, that offensive line, a lot of help by getting open, being a target that you can trust to throw 50-50 balls to. It makes worlds of difference. You have to have one, i.e. the Dallas Cowboys going out and getting George Pickens. You got to have one of these guys. We knew it. They know it. He is that one. So that's why he's number 4 on the board. I'll move on to number 5, and here's where I'm going to get argued with. And I might just be picking this ahead of, Jalen. But if you put Jalen here at number 5, and argued with me about it, I wouldn't be mad at you. I did it because I know as a Cowboys fan how important the defensive tackle position is, and Jalen Carter is it. He's that guy. Okay. That's why we just signed Oso Digizua to the money we did. He has similar numbers to Jalen Carter over the last 2 years. Look at this guy's college awards. He's a 2-time college football champion, and he's one of the big reasons. Go watch his film in those championships in college football, right? That's why he was the 9th pick in the overall draft as a defensive tackle in the first round, right? 9th pick. So that speaks for itself. He obviously helped the team immediately become a Super Bowl champion, right? So this guy's a 3-time champion at the young ripe age of 26, 7. I'm not sure how old he is, but so it takes these teams. It takes a team to win these games. It takes these pieces, and it takes these guys to win these chips, to win Super Bowls. So Now we get to it with the 6th overall pick of my Eagles roster draft. I give you Jalen Hurts. Give me my quarterback. Now that I've got my tackle that can protect him, now that I've got his two best friends in Saquon Barkley and A.J. Brown that can help him on the field, that can help him get his job done a lot and make life easier for him so he's not having to put this team on his back. Actually, it's the other way around, right? Now that I've given him a solid foundational piece on defense that we know can lock down a guy and take away a best player, and also up front, we worked on the trenches on both sides of the ball first and put a defensive tackle up front to where maybe we can limit teams from just running down our throats all game. Now I can have my quarterback because he's got a team to work with, because this is a team sport. And like I said, if you're not that guy, if you're not numero uno without a shadow of a doubt, you can't be the number one player on this Eagles roster. We've seen what the Eagles have done with this roster. Forgive me, did they not just win a Super Bowl not too long ago with freaking Nick Foles? They've been roster building. That's one thing. As much as I despise the Eagles, they've been roster building phenomenally. They won a Super Bowl with their first, non-wooden Super Bowl ring with Nick Foles. Is he a good quarterback? Is he better than Lamar Jackson? I digress. I'm sorry. Jalen Hurts is a good player. I even like some of I think he's a great leader. He's a phenomenal runner. But when you look at his records here, look at Jalen Hurts' NFL records. Most rushing touchdowns in a season by a quarterback. Most rushing touchdowns in a postseason by a quarterback. Most rushing yards in a Super Bowl by a quarterback. He's a RQB1. I'm sorry, he's a RBQB1. He's a running back quarterback. And he's a good one. I'm not taking it away from him. And they're in a good system. They put it together and it worked. But he's better than Lamar Jackson, and he's the reason Eagles are winning Super Bowls? Come on, Brunson. Cowboys Nation, tell me what you think. I had to bring this up. I had to talk about it. Experiment with me. Go do your own roster. If you're watching this, you're not a Cowboys or Eagles fan, do your roster. Where does your quarterback land on your big board, right? Because honestly, we could sit here, we could talk about Dak real quick, and I could go, Micah's for sure there. Last year, Zach Martin was on our roster. He's for sure there, right? Some people might want to argue DeMarcus Lawrence. I'm not going to hate you for that. You're going to want to argue CeeDee Lamb and Trevon Diggs. I'm not going to hate you for that. Tyler Smith, for sure, is probably on my big board above Dak Prescott. Tyler Smith is a dog. Dak Prescott's a 4th-round pick. Tyler Smith's a 1st. So, again, experiment with me. Tell me where your quarterback lands on his own football team and if he's better than Lamar Jackson, a 3-time MVP. We look at Jalen Hurts as one of his best statistical years. Dak Prescott was runner-up MVP. But I'm not going to sit here and say Dak Prescott's better than Lamar Jackson. He doesn't affect the game the same way. He just doesn't. I like Dak. But tell me what you guys think. That's another episode of The Star We Are with your man Jimmy J's Hair. Where do you rank him? I say Jalen Hurts the 6th best player on his team. Lord Brunson, he is not better than Lamar Jackson. Peace.